specializing in enabling and aligning three departments for organizations: sales, marketing, and services. We do this through our tool of choice, which is HubSpot, which we are a platinum partner for. We love HubSpot, and we are the only Canadian organization to hold the HubSpot Advanced Implementation certification, in addition to our platinum partner status. And here are a few of the things that we specialize within the scope of sales, marketing, and service enablement. Things such as lead generation, inbound marketing, revenue-driven focus campaigns. We do wrap around our own professional services in addition to helping organizations align and elevate these three departments. So, introducing your presenters. With you here today for the 5th time in a row. Myself, Max Prema. I'm an inbound growth consultant working out of Edmonton here, supporting the Alberta region for Flawless Inbound. Also joining us from Edmonton is one of our account managers, Erica. Erica, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everyone. Like Max said, my name's Erica. I'm an account manager at Flawless. I am also the marketing manager for Flawless themselves.
All right. Thank you, Erica. And last but certainly not least, the man himself, our Chief Revenue Officer, Seher Gadas. Seher, say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining today. And hopefully you guys will enjoy the session today and kind of the sharing the team will have with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Seher. Now, everyone who knows Seher knows he works really hard. And while he is a parent of 2, Flawless Inbound very much is his 3rd child. And I got kind of a fun tidbit of information for you all. So Seher recently took a vacation. Now, I had a tough time visualizing what Seher would look like relaxing, because he never does when we work at Flawless Inbound. But here's what I came up with. So, just wanted to make that visual for everyone. Anyways, moving right along. The agenda for today's workshop. So intro into the webinar, we're right into the middle of that. I'm going to pass it over to Seher for some opening remarks and a big announcement. Then Erica is going to talk about how to align sales and marketing departments at organizations. She'll pass it over to me, and I'll talk a little bit about developing a winning ABM strategy. That's an acronym for accounts-based marketing, not always be max. I just learned that this morning. And Seher will summarize everything that we talked about in the workshop, and then we'll leave it open for questions and answers. Just to let you know, we are monitoring the chat right now. Seher and Erica are able to answer your questions if they aren't presenting right now. I'm manning the presentation, so if there's one for me, I will table at the very end. But please ask your questions in the chat throughout the presentation. So for some opening remarks, Seher, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Max. And thank you everyone again for joining today. We understand that we are in very interesting times right now. And that's why now more than ever, even as a Flawless Inbound team, we need to really focus on hopefully adding value as much as we can with all our clients, especially for you, everybody who's joining the call today. Leading during those interesting, volatile time is critical, and it needs a lot of attention to details and focus on the small things that let us all win. So I guess our mission during those time with our clients is how to help you lead in this kind of new reality. And usually when we focus with clients, we focus on working on fixing the big business problem or challenges. One of them might be organizational growth. And this, as you all know, happens usually in the marketing and the sales departments. And lately, or over the last 6 years, we had our partnership with HubSpot, and we were able to help 100+ B2B organizations to achieve some kind of growth, either nationally in Canada or between Canada and the US. But more importantly, I think, while we have been working shoulder to shoulder with clients, we start learning a key lesson. And this lesson is success has many fathers, while failure is an orphan. This is, by the way, is a Russian proverb, and I'm sure some of you guys might know that. What does it really mean to us right now? That during those interesting times, it's the small wins and the small activity that keeps your organization moving forward. That's really what will count right now, especially before the market start opening and coming back. Because we start noticing, even as a Flawless Inbound team, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And there's a lot of organizations are reinvesting in growth and in expansion as we are speaking right now. So I'm glad that there is a lot of CEO, I can see in the list here, VP of sales and marketing leaders actually joining the call today. I really appreciate that, because what you would see from Erica and from Max, how they're going to present their material and slides is how can we do sales and marketing alignment, especially for B2B organization, to help you open new markets and do better alignments when it comes to digital marketing and revenue growth marketing. Next, I think I want to also kind of share with you guys a big announcement that we're having. So as you know, or if you have worked with Flawless and Bound before, we have specialty departments and specialty teams. So we have a team who's focused on revenue-driven marketing. We have a team that's focused on CRM and sales enablement. Now we're actually announcing a brand new strategic partnership that actually happened on July 1st with Oracle NetSuite. Some of you might know something like an ERP solutions. So NetSuite actually is the #1 enterprise resource planning cloud-based platform, especially for B2B organization, either in the manufacturing space, in the software industry, or in other industries. So we just announced our partnership with Oracle NetSuite. What does that mean to our clients and to the market in Canada and the US? That Flawless and Bound now can add more value in the relationship. First, we started as a digital marketing and revenue-driven organization. Then we evolved into empowering your sales team with CRM. Now we're even going deeper into helping you rise above the noise by implementing a full enterprise resource planning solution. So either you have an inventory management challenge that we can help with, maybe financial management optimization using the Oracle NetSuite platform. So again, if you have more questions about that, me and Max definitely can ask an answer, help you answer a lot of questions around this as well. So now, enough with the big announcement and enough of who we are. Let's go and dig into more details. Erica, I would like you to share with the audience today, how can we start thinking about sales and marketing alignment from your perspective as a marketing manager at Flawless and Bound, and also consulting and helping a lot of our B2B clients?
Perfect. Thanks, Zaher. So I will start off with a little bit of a story, I guess, about Flawless Inbound ourselves. So a little less than a year ago, maybe about 8 months ago, we realized that we had a bit of a problem when it came to the alignment of our sales and marketing teams. When we would have meetings together, we would realize that maybe the marketing team thought that they were delivering, or that we were delivering hundreds of really good leads, and the sales team would say, no, they're not good at all. And we would say, how are we supposed to know that? And they would say, well, maybe get us good leads. And we would go on, we would kind of go on and on. And we realized that that was holding us back from really being able to grow more as departments and as an entire company. And so we decided that this was probably a common issue that a lot of B2B organizations were facing, in that they had these two departments running completely separately, and they weren't running on the same strategy, on the same mindset, on the same goals. So we wanted to create a strategy that would work for us, and that would also apply to our clients, to anybody, any other B2B organization that wanted to connect their sales and marketing departments to get some better results from that. And I'm going to explain a little bit about what we came up with here. And I think that this, you don't have to follow this exactly. There's obviously, if you're applying in your organization, ability to customize, to label things differently, to make it work for how your current departments are set up. But this should help you kind of understand the basics of creating an alignment strategy. So the very first important thing is qualifying new contacts. For us, that means that contacts entering our database get labeled into one of 4 categories. And those are pending, yes, no, and maybe. Very simple, keeping the language as simple as we can. And so I'll explain a little bit next about what those separate categories mean. So a pending contact is essentially a contact that is not yet been reached by sales, or maybe the sales team is waiting to hear back from that new lead. Maybe they're waiting to make a decision about whether that lead is good or not. In that case, we call them pending. And what's important about that is that at the same time as a contact is pending, they're also an MQL, which is a marketing qualified lead. And we'll get into that in a second, but that's really important for the marketing team to know which leads are marketing qualified and which leads are sales qualified, because that helps us to understand when and where and how we should be sending marketing information to these leads. The second option is qualified yes. That's a sales qualified lead. In our case, it means a deal stage of exploratory plus. And that probably doesn't mean anything to any of you, but a certain deal stage when the client is ready to be communicated with sales very frequently, when they're ready to get into those deep dive discussions and they don't want to hear about the fluff anymore, that's a yes qualified client. That means it's almost time to make a sale. The other two options are pretty straightforward. No just means they're not qualified, they're a bad lead, they're a competitor, they're not legit. We put them into a cleaning list and we get rid of them from our database. If they are qualified as maybe, what that means is that they're not ready to be sold to yet, but they are a high quality lead. So maybe they said to a sales team member, we are just looking at our options. In 6 months, we're going to make a decision. In that case, they can be labeled as maybe, and then in 6 months, we'll know to come back to them and start working with them again. We do consider these to be sales qualified leads as opposed to marketing qualified leads, because we do know that they are interested in buying or becoming, like, taking part in one of our programs, but they're just not ready yet. So I think next, we'll go over, you might be asking, how do those contacts get labeled? And what I heard a lot from, what I like to pretend I heard from our sales team was, I guess I just pick whichever one I want, but that is not the case. There is a system for how all of the contacts get labeled into their particular categories, and we'll go over that next. So what happens when a contact comes to our website and fills in one of our forms is that they're automatically marked pending. Only category that is automatic. All of the other categories are manually marked by our sales team when they make that decision about that contact. But the pending happens automatically. Any contact who comes into our website, fills in our forms, gets marked pending. They immediately receive a thank you email just letting them know that we got their contact information and that someone's going to reach out to them very soon. The example of that is over on the right. And at the same time as that's happening, our sales rep, and this depends on location for us, which rep gets notified, but they get notified that there is a new contact request and what all the details of that contact request are. And as you can see below, we have a few options for what someone can request from us when they reach out. The most important ones, and the ones that we'll cover today in terms of sales and marketing alignment, are hire flawless, have a discovery call, and learn about our solution. So we'll go over that on the next slide. So this is the really, really important part of our sales and marketing alignment strategy. And that was sitting together and coming up with a strategy for what happens when a contact comes into our website and they select one of our contact options. No one team came up with this on their own. We sat together and we decided what works best for marketing and what works best for sales so that the contacts could get the right information that they needed at the right time and not be bothered by both teams sending them things at once or sending conflicting information or not getting enough information. So we sat together and we came up with these 3 different strategies. The first one is if they selected hire flawless. Now, obviously that means that they seem like at least a very high priority, high quality lead. They want to hire us. So what we do is we have this team right away review the contact and make a decision on whether they're qualified. So if they move to yes or to no, they don't get any more marketing emails. They don't get any at all, in fact, other than that initial thank you email. And that's because when a contact is highly qualified, they're ready to be sold to. They're ready to start into those, what can you offer us? What deal can we make? We don't want to be sending them sort of that fluff marketing information about things like how can HubSpot help and how does HubSpot work, or blog, like we'll send them blogs. We don't want that information to go out because it's going to distract them from the important conversation that they're having with sales. So in that case, we don't send them any more marketing emails if they're marked yes or no. If they are marked maybe, we do send them some chain of emails based on their persona, just to keep ourselves top of mind, keep ourselves in their inbox during that time period where we're waiting for them to be ready to come back to sales. So that's what happens if they're marked maybe. The next option is if they select have a discovery call. So if they select have a discovery call, it's fairly similar to if they select hire, but in this case, we do, because if they're interested in a discovery call, it indicates to us that they are interested in learning a little bit more information before they're ready to start talking to sales. So what we do is we want the sales team to reach out and attempt to connect for a call, schedule a call right away. But while they're remaining in the pending category, they will continue to receive some general educational marketing emails until that call happens, just to give them more information about what our solutions are, what services we can provide, etc., so that when they have the call, they'll be more prepared with better information to talk to sales about what they are interested in. After the call happens, and that could be the next day, it could be a week, it could be 2 weeks down the line, or whatever the case, they'll stay pending until then. The sales team will review the qualified status and make their decision about whether or not the contact should move to yes or to no. If they move them, again, they don't receive any more marketing emails. If they move them to maybe, they'll continue with their marketing emails, same as the hire flawless section there. And all of this is being done manually. So the sales team is going on the contact record in HubSpot, and we have had qualified status right at the top of the contact record, and they're just making that manual change when the time comes to make that change. The last option is perhaps the more complex option, and it's if they selected learn more. When someone selects learn more, it indicates to us that they are interested in getting some extent of new information before they want someone to start talking to them right away. So what we do in this case is we send them marketing emails and we ask that they don't be contacted by sales for a little while. Now, it's completely up to the sales team. If they review the contact, they see it's a target company that they've been looking for, they are completely free to reach out if they want to. There is no a hard and fast rule, like you cannot do that, but in general, they don't. And what we do then is that we use a workflow to send them marketing emails. And if they have opened 3 of them, and this is a factor that we can collect and monitor in HubSpot. So once they've opened 3 emails, the sales team will get an internal notification to let them know about that and to let them know that it might be time to try and book a discovery call with them. So they'll reach out, they'll try to book the call, and of course then the same thing happens basically about updating the status as happens in the other options. So those are all of our options for how we follow up with leads. And a lot of the times we get asked, what if we forget? What if we don't know how many contacts are pending? What if I left one pending for 2 days and then I forgot they were even there, etc. So what I like to say is that they don't have to worry, because elephants never forget. And I guess in this case, the marketing team are elephants. So what we set up is an internal notification, a very simple internal notification to let the sales team know if their contact is pending and they haven't sent any emails or logged any calls to them within 24 hours, then at 24 hours, we want to make sure that they're being contacted right off the bat, especially if they selected hire or discovery call. So if that doesn't happen, they get an internal notification letting them know that they haven't reached out yet. And if another 3 days go by, and this has not happened yet, so good props to our sales team for that. But if another 3 days go by with no activity, then they will get another notification just saying, by the way, this contact still hasn't been followed up with. You probably want to look into that. So then next, we'll talk about how this helps us. So not only does it help us because it gives us a system to make sure that every contact is being followed up with appropriately, and that's very important, but it also helps us to pass that useful data back and forth between teams. And we do that by creating reports. So we have a few reports here. This is just an example of 2 of them, and they can be fully customized or there can be more reports based on what data you want to look for in that alignment. But basically, these are an example of a qualified contacts report and a qualified stage by owner report. And as the marketing team, this is really useful for us because we can see within a month, within a quarter, how many contacts were first of all, how many contacts came in as pending, which is good, but then also how many contacts were qualified by each of the sales reps as yes, no, or maybe. And that's important to us because we can then see if there's too many no's in 1 month, then we might have to rethink some of our strategy for lead generation. If there are tons of yeses, then we know that that's a lead gen strategy that's working properly. And even if we see that there are a lot of yeses or nos on one particular sales rep and not on the others, then that helps us to understand where we need to have a conversation with that person to understand why they don't see the contacts as qualified or why they're not qualified for their purposes, so that we can make some better decisions there. It's also helpful for the sales team themselves, or for the leadership team, to be able to see how many contacts they have pending within a month, and to see if there's too many left pending for the month, if they've done a whole bunch of maybes, all kinds of things like that, so that they can just review that information and make some better decisions or some more successful decisions about both the marketing strategies and the sales strategies. And as you can see, our sales rep, John, is not in this meeting. Perhaps it's because there are 45 pending contacts that he is monitoring right now. So he might be busy with those. Yeah, so that's the basics of our sales and marketing alignment. There is one other thing that we did that's on the next slide. And this came at the request of our sales team, and it has ended up being really important to us in designating what contacts are sent what information by email. And we call that our stop marketing property. And that's exactly what it sounds like. A stop marketing property is a simple check yes property on all of our contacts that the sales team can mark off to stop a contact from receiving any more marketing emails. And that means newsletters, blogs, webinar invites, general education emails, literally everything they stop receiving. And it's important that their sales team is able to make that designation, because sometimes they just want to make sure they are in a serious conversation with a client, they're in a serious conversation with a prospect, and they don't want that prospect to get distracted or anything like that with marketing emails and information. So they can mark them stop marketing, and they can, and that means that the contact is fully theirs to communicate with, and that marketing won't send them anything. Our general guidelines around this were that they should really only be marked stop marketing if they're in the final deal stages, if they've asked but they don't want to receive any more emails, or if they're a competitor or a bad lead, they can be marked qualified no and stop marketing just to be extra sure. Maybe if they're like a influencer contact, they can be marked stop marketing just because there's no need for them to be receiving emails that are trying to encourage them to make a deal when they're just here to sort of be overall networking contacts or influencer contacts as well. We did create one sort of caveat to the stop marketing property, and that was an events only option. And so that option is just, they can be marked stop marketing, but events only. And that means they won't receive any promotional emails, or they won't receive any like newsletters, anything like that, but they will still receive invitations to events, in person and webinars, although in person is not happening right now. And that was another request that we had from sales, because they found a lot of contacts a lot of prospects in their pipeline. They didn't want them to be getting promotional emails because they were already in the pipeline, they were already talking deals, but they did want them to come to webinars like this where they could learn more useful information and ask questions. So we created that property as well. And I think that is the final slide for me on the sales and marketing alignment. We will have Q&A time at the end. So if you have any questions about how we set that up in HubSpot, or how we monitor it, how we both teams use it, please feel free to ask those then. And otherwise, I will pass it on to Max to talk about account-based marketing.
And hey, Erica, great job. Before passing it on to Max, I just want to say, you made me so busy right now when you were presenting, because there have been a lot of questions actually while you were presenting, which is awesome. Please, just as a reminder for everyone, I was just busy answering a lot of questions. I think Max have seen that, but please get your questions going. And Max now will move into ABM account-based marketing. By the way, Max, there was a lot of questions about, can you guys show us how a campaign looks like? And I told all of the team members joining today, wait for it. Max is going to share it. Erica, there was a lot of questions around more details around workflows in HubSpot. How can we move them from the yes, no, maybe? There was a couple of questions actually around, so what happens when no? Why do we still need them in the platform and things like that? So for all attendants today, we are monitoring the Q&A. There's a lot of questions coming in, which is amazing. Please make sure that all your questions are in the Q&A. Also, if there is more questions that we couldn't answer, we'll make sure to stay on the webinar for the last 10 minutes to make sure we answer all the questions. Erica, thank you again, amazing job. So now we know how maybe a marketing team should align with the sales team, especially in B2B organization, where we understand that the sales process can take 3, 6 months, maybe 9 months or a year. So we get that. So the key point now is we understand there's a lot of channels. Some might come on the website, fill a form. Some might be running a webinar like this, virtual trade shows just because of the current condition with COVID, or virtual meetings and follow up and things like that. The real question now is, so now we get that from a marketing perspective. Max, how can a sales team now take what Erica did and work with the marketing team from a sales perspective to launch a proper campaign to open new markets, hopefully help in closing multi-year contracts and do more of that?
You betcha. So as Erica said in her part, one thing that works extremely well for Flawless Inbound is the collaboration between the sales and marketing departments, even above and beyond our, as we call them, sales and marketing alignment meetings. Before I get into my part here too, regarding the Q&A section, if anyone wants to throw Sahara a curveball and go Jeopardy style with these and put an answer to the question, and then Sahara has to respond with a question. We always like to keep things fun here. So for instance, if you put Max and Erica, Sahara would have to respond with my favorite, Sahara's favorite Flawless Inbound employees are ? So anyways, how to develop, let's get into my part now. How to develop a winning ABM strategy. Help a brother out, why won't you? So let's start with the foundations of lead generation, account-based marketing. What is that? So first and foremost, a lot of organizations view their marketing department kind of as a funnel, right? Going to market, finding, if you're B2B, finding businesses, finding individual contacts, and starting to qualify them little by little. And then once you get to a decision maker, passing that along to the sales department. Well, accounts-based marketing actually flips that around, and we look then at identifying first and foremost who are the decision makers and these holy grail accounts in B2B that we really want to target with our efforts and win over these organizations, because they are a make or break your year from a revenue perspective if you do sign these accounts. Now, it is a fairly long process, but that really is the high level insight. And as I said before, it's not, even though it's, marketing is in the acronym, it really is a collaborative effort between the two departments in sales and marketing. So from there, you identify the decision makers and maybe some of the key influencers of the organizations. Then you develop a industry customer profile. So going to market with the idea that anyone and everyone can be your customer is it's asinine to really to put it bluntly. You want to determine who are your advocates. What, if you're solution selling, who does your solution actually empower? Can you actually bring value to this organization? Do you have a a consistent win ratio with this specific industry? And that's who your industry customer profile is. And then select your markets and accounts around there, right? So you have to go even more granular than that. Can everyone afford you? Does every single organization within this market, that target market that you've identified, actually need your solution? So on and so forth. And then from there, targeting the decision makers, we'll show how we do that. I'll get a little bit, I think actually on the next slide, I'll talk about kind of what resources we use to determine who the decision makers are. And then on top of that, one essential part to accounts-based marketing is creating social media and building trust. In B2B, organizations and decision makers like to buy from other organizations that they trust. Building trust is essential for the foundations of account-based marketing, and it's something that takes a lot of time and various different media and different content, usually done through social media, to really build that trust. So now from there, we are a big fan of the customer-centric model here, the flywheel. So from there, once you've done executed your accounts-based marketing campaign, is important then to run your three main lines of business around them, your sales, marketing, and service departments, with the customer in the middle. So what tools are essential for accounts-based marketing? Well, we have some must-haves and we have some nice-to-haves. So for must-haves, LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a godsend for accounts-based marketing. Now, hopefully, all our attendees here are on LinkedIn. It is extremely important, especially if you're in B2B, to find out, to connect, to build social trust, to build that trust that I was talking about in the previous slide. This is one way organizations find you. We have a lot of qualified leads and a lot of business that comes in originally through LinkedIn. We're able to tell that through the next thing on the list, HubSpot. So HubSpot is not only our CRM solution, it's also our marketing automation. All our resources, all our digital resources, I should say, are our social media, our website, any search engine campaigns that we might run, any display advertising, digital display advertising campaigns that we do, that all plugs into HubSpot, and through that we're able to track a full buyer's journey of someone coming from a social media source, coming to us organically, coming to our website directly, and start developing a profile on this person. So it is essential for ABM, because then using that platform, which I would say is the most important of all, I have a few more I have to present to you, we're able to track what that person values, what content that they're clicking on, what offers maybe are receptive to them, what webinar topics, for instance, do we like? Sorry, not to expose everyone, but we know not just from the names that are in the participants on Zoom, but HubSpot also tracks that data. Erica creates a list of July webinar attendees, participants, and signups. So going forward, market research platform, Crunchbase. I'm going to pass that actually back to Sahar to talk a bit more about this one.
Beautiful. Thanks, Max. So I know I'm getting, again, more questions around, so how we can open new markets. Are you guys happy with the Zoom platform, things like that? And I'll answer your question, Max, about Crunchbase. So just for everybody to know here, right now on this webinar, we have 12 different organizations joining right now live. And out of those 12 different organizations, there might be 1 or 2 people from the same organization, so that everybody knows who's who on the call today. And why I'm mentioning this. So let's say you're a B2B organization, either in manufacturing, IoT, SaaS, cloud-based, biotech, construction, insurance, you name it. we've noticed that eventually your VP of sales will come to you or come to the VP of marketing and say, hey, we want to open new markets. So the first thing you do is market research. We found that there is a tool called Crunchbase. I'm sure some of you guys on the webinar know about it. It's a great way so that you can research a couple of things. Number one, new trends in your industry or trends in the micro vertical market that your organization want to start selling and positioning their service or their technology platform to. So that's number one. Number two, which organization are searching for solutions right now? Number three, what kind of content article you can actually create to be able to match so that the decision maker can start reading your content or joining your webinar, things like that. So we would suggest Crunchbase as a platform. I think monthly pricing, they have the free version. It gives you like a 7-day trial. And then I think monthly after that's like $25 US. Just have your marketing team discover it first. And then from there, of course, as Max said, as a must-have, you need a marketing automation tool, i.e., let's say HubSpot. And for your sales team, you need to empower them with Sales Navigator tool. The key point before I hand it over to Max is, in this conversation today, if the Flawless Inbound team is advising all the teams attending today of any technology stack for your sales and marketing, we are very sensitive that we don't advise you with technology tools where you find yourself with a lot of technology tools that doesn't speak together. So anything we mention today, we are putting the hat of a CTO, Chief Technology Officer, while we're sharing that with you guys, so that when you guys start bringing those technology platforms together, there will be orchestration and there will be integration to those, so that you don't find yourself with a lot of technology stack, and now your marketing and sales team have to log in, log out of different platforms. Now you're wasting more of their time as well. Max, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sahar. So getting into the nice to haves, Facebook and Twitter business profiles, extremely important, because really, to put it simply, you never know where your traffic is going to come from. Hopefully, you know, all the CEOs and VP sales and marketing that we have right now in the audience, you do have these profiles set up because you want presence wherever your market may be. I know most organizations here are business to business, and while Facebook and Twitter seem to thrive in the business and consumer space, there is a way to market business to business, even though, you know, LinkedIn very much is the business social media platform that's used most prevalently. It is important to also be active on those channels, and it's completely free to set up an account, a business account. Lastly, this one requires an investment, but it is extremely powerful, and that's ZoomInfo, Discover Org, and Lead 411. Now, I know I said for LinkedIn Sales Navigator is extremely important for sales departments. ZoomInfo, Discover Org, and Lead 411 are paid list services. Instead of having a cold list of phone calls to make, you can actually invest in ZoomInfo to get a very qualified list of the kind of markets and the kind of accounts you're trying to target with your ABM efforts. So with ZoomInfo, you get, for instance, you get into a pretty deep sales cycle with a representative there. You let them know the size of organizations you're targeting, the industries, the maybe amount of headcount, the profiles, I would say, organizational roles and personas that you were trying to target because you have the most success from a sales perspective there. So those are really important. You can get that info from LinkedIn Sales Navigator, but you can get even more detailed with ZoomInfo.
Max, can I add to this? Because this is a very critical slide, especially for a sales team, right? So I'll give you guys a scenario for Flawless Inbound without sharing any information with other clients we work with. And just as a reminder for everybody on the call, we work with 100+ B2B organizations for the last 6 years, using some or maybe all of those platforms depending on their needs. So let's take Flawless Inbound as an example, right? So now we have a new mandate. We want to expand in the US, which, by the way, 25% of our book of business is from the US. But let's say we want to expand in the US. And let's say we said, you know what? We want to focus on the manufacturing industry. And we're only going to work with, let's say, with companies who are 5 million and up in revenue. with 25, 30 employees. So what would you do as a VP of sales, having your marketing manager? I'll have a meeting with Erica and say, Erica, by the way, I want you to spend some time on Crunchbase. Tell me what's the trend right now in manufacturing US in the, let's say, the Western region of the US, okay? Erica will come back and say, by the way, Sarah, I did my research, Crunchbase, and I think this should be our focus area. This will be the focus on essential manufacturing versus, versus maybe medical manufacturing, things like that. Then I will take that, and then now I know the name of the companies from Crunchbase, so I get company names. Are you guys with me? So now I get company names. Now from company names, I need to start having my sales and marketing team introduce us properly to the decision makers in those company names. So let's say, again, I use Flawless Inbound as an example. We work closely with CEOs, VP marketing, VP sales. That's usually our persona that we work with. So now I'll take the list from Erica, and then I'll go to Zoom Info, and then I'll query the list of VP marketing, VP sales, things like that. What the outcome of the list from Zoom Info will be: name, first name, last name, email address, sometimes phone number, maybe yes, maybe no, and maybe a little bit of better accuracy, but never 100%. Now we get that. Then we go to LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So what would the sales team do from there? Start adding value. Not asking for a discovery meeting, not pushing articles that they never heard about us and we're just pushing them. Just add value with them. That's Sales Navigator. But then the final blue point is that HubSpot is connecting with all this technology stack. So then Erica and her team, John, Max and their team, they know now, is this lead engaging with us? Are we annoying them? Or are we adding value to them to attract them to our brand, which is Flawless Inbound? And as soon as we see that they're attracted to us, then ABM comes in place, and this is where Max is going right now. I hope that makes sense. Max, back to you.
Awesome. So ABM now is step-by-step process. So we've talked about what ABM is from a high-level perspective, as well as some of the technological investments that you guys need to make. So how does it look from kind of a high-level execution standpoint? So firstly, you ought to design a multi-touch campaign encompassing the buyer's journey around the specific problem. So one thing that's essential, and one thing that Erica and her team do extremely well from an execution standpoint, is instead of marketing a solution, and saying a Flawless Inbound program is right for you, we make our campaigns designed around the pain points, or maybe the goals, or maybe the problems that these targeted industries that we're going after are facing on a day-by-day basis. From there, then we, assuming that we've already done the pre-work and they're in our CRM, they've opted in for our emails, maybe they've signed up for a webinar, that we start giving them the valuable content that it takes for them to start building that relationship, building that all-important trust that I was talking about. So we have various parts of our content strategy. So we have ebooks, content, infographics, and also we have plenty of content that we put on social media. Just build awareness really about Flawless Inbound, and also give give some strategic points on how do they address those specific industries, goals, or challenges that they're facing within their own industry. From there, now we invite them to a virtual show and tell if they aren't already there. So maybe a webinar, a podcast, or a recorded event. This is again about building that social trust. So making them kind of giving them, let's say, the Flawless Inbound experience, right? Inviting them to one of our in-person workshops when those are a thing again, or one of our webinars. Going deeper into the value and giving them a presentation. Not necessarily a sales presentation just yet, just more information about what they're interested in, topics that they're interested in. Follow up via an email with a customer testimonial or case study. This is extremely, extremely important. So you always want to guide that specific contact, or prospect along their buyer's journey. And that takes a lot of effort, both from the sales and marketing teams. So we have a lot of formalized follow-up processes after an event, like a webinar, for instance. We have a specific follow-up process for those who attend, those who signed up and didn't attend, and those who may have missed it, right? We want to ensure that we're covering all the bases there. So email tends to work best for that, but you can get creative with other outreach depending on how qualified that specific contact is. Create a pillar page / website section and add 2 or 3 cluster topics or specific blogs. I'm actually going to get into that into the next slide, so I'm just going to leave that point as is. And then lastly, again, I do have this on the next slide as well, but an interactive tool and conversational marketing strategy / chatbot to serve as a concierge. This is really important. Now, not all chatbots are equal. You can make an adaptive chatbot, and I'm going to talk actually on the next slide on how we do that. So going into more execution. So this is actually taken out of the Flawless Inbound homepage. If you go to flawlessinbound.ca and scroll down a bit, you're actually going to see some links to some industry pages. So notice, as I've already said, that we do our accounts-based marketing based on industry. You don't necessarily have to do it this way, but we do find it works best for us. So that's what we recommend. So engineering, software as a service, managed service provider, construction. There are a lot of organizations that we've helped in the past that we've gotten some results for. We have case studies for. We know what pain points that we may face, and we've really grown with these organizations that partner with us